Pikmin Bloom's performance has been a common issue among the player base since the game's debut. While some argue that they've never experienced problems, and others suggest a brand new flagship phone is necessary to play, the fact remains that a large chunk of players struggle with issues on a daily basis. These issues have become so pervasive, in fact, that it inspired me to create a glitch and performance survey. With over 500 responses submitted, let's see if we can figure out what's going on here. I'm Bloombud's Johnny, and along with Gianni, we create videos on Pikmin Bloom. We are members of the official Niantic Content Creator Program and have a direct line of contact with Niantic staff where we can pass along feedback from players and clarify questions the community has for the latest updates. The goal of this video is for the developers of Pikmin Bloom, Nintendo and the Niantic team recently acquired by Scopely, who will for the remainder of this video be collectively referred to as Niantic for the sake of simplicity, to seriously consider addressing these performance issues in the coming year. The game has had a large variety of glitches over the years. Most of the time, these are innocuous audio or visual bugs which can range from anywhere from "this is silly" to "this is creepy" to "this is irritating" to even "this is kinda cool." Although annoying at times, a simple refresh of the app by closing it and reopening it will solve these issues 99% of the time. The sheer amount of bugs in the game have become so commonplace that they're just kind of expected at this point. I've been documenting them over the past couple of years, and I've amassed a lot of recordings tagged with glitch or bug, with even more having been documented on the wiki by the larger community. These silly little visual bugs are the least of our worries as players. They've existed since the game's launch, so many of us by now have come to terms with them as an expected part of the game. Since then, more and more features, events, and updates have been added to the game, exacerbating the problem. The game seems to have been built on an unstable foundation, and as new things are added without the old things being fixed, well, you end up with many unhappy players. When the game first launched and it was unclear whether it would succeed or fail, I think there's a certain amount of justification for ignoring many of the ongoing bugs. But now that Pikmin Bloom has recently celebrated its 4th anniversary, its success is evident, especially within Asia, and I think it's well beyond time to address the performance issues that, for many players, the game still blatantly suffers from. According to the survey, 52% of respondents experience issues every play session, with 14% experiencing them multiple times per play session. Keep in mind, a self-report survey focusing on performance issues is bound to attract people who have problems regularly, making the results look worse than reality. That said, only 2% of participants claim that they never or almost never have issues when playing the game. Perhaps the worst offender in the game's history was during the game's launch, when Pikmin Bloom on certain Android devices would actually prevent the user from receiving notifications. I'm not talking about Pikmin Bloom notifications, I'm talking about all device notifications. Players were missing important text messages and phone calls, as well as notifications through other apps. Those affected realized the only solution at the time was to uninstall the game. That bug was thankfully fixed early on by Niantic, but by then the damage had been done. It had turned off many Android players from the start. 52% of people reported using some form of Android device. Based on the findings of the survey, there are no statistically significant differences between iOS and Android devices when it comes to the overall amount of performance problems encountered by the player. However, there are some glitches that differ by operating system, which we'll cover later. As ambassadors for Pikmin Bloom, Gianni and I have introduced countless people to the game. Have you ever played Pikmin Bloom before?
I have played Pikmin Bloom.
Are you aware of Pikmin Bloom?
I am aware of Pikmin Bloom.
Pikmin Bloom? No. No Pikmin Bloom. These days I've been playing a lot of Pikmin Bloom. Do you play Pikmin Bloom?
I haven't tried it yet, but I've heard good things.
Yeah. While the game's formula is certainly not for everyone, and naturally people will come and go as they gain and lose interest like with anything, there was one major overarching complaint we heard that kept coming up again and again that made those new players want to drop the game for good. If you have ever played Pikmin Bloom, there's a high chance you've experienced a scenario, maybe something like this.
Any luck?
No, I couldn't find help. I fear this may be the end for us.
If only we had matches or some way to start a fire.
That's it! Open Pikmin Bloom and get into a mushroom battle.
Okay, I'm in.
Okay, now put it on the pile. Trust me. We did it!
Yay, fire!
We did it! Yeah, Pikmin Bloom heats up your phone a lot. And while this is clearly hyperbolic in nature for comedic effect, the game really does heat up your phone to an uncomfortable degree.
Hey, if we could open Pikmin Bloom, then couldn't we have called for help?
Both of us constantly experience game crashes, overheating, and excessive battery drain when playing Pikmin Bloom, which are all likely symptoms of the same common problem, the poor optimization of the game. So we started to wonder how many other players are experiencing issues like us, and how frequently and to what degree are those problems occurring. This is what we set to find out. We can have all the anecdotal experiences in the world, but it's meaningless in the world of statistical evidence. That's why, after working together with some members of the Discord community, and asking some Japanese content creators for advice, we put together a Google Forms survey to try and pinpoint common trends among the experiences players have been having in order to quantify the data in a meaningful way. Full disclosure, we are in no way professional data analysts. The main goal of the survey wasn't necessarily for Niantic to take the data at face value, but to give them a starting point for if and when they decide to do their own professional research on the matter. For all we know, Niantic may have already decided to take action, or not, based on their own internal studies. Whether the data is taken seriously by Niantic or not, at the very least, I hope the results of the survey will give players some insight on data that Niantic is very unlikely to ever release publicly. This will, at minimum, help identify the best devices to run the game to help players avoid performance issues in the future. I asked a fellow YouTuber, Okawari-san, for some insight on the performance issues among the Japanese community. He provided his opinion and a summary of the overall perception of players there. Unsurprisingly, the Japanese community experiences much of the same issues that we do overseas, with crashes, freezes, battery drain, and overheating being common themes of user complaints. Many players also express helplessness that the problem will never be properly addressed by Niantic. Keep in mind that these opinions are more likely to reflect users of iOS given the dominance of those devices within Japan. Recently, Niantic has discontinued support for devices running iOS 14. Okawari-san states, "Personally, I think that the range of devices Niantic supports should be further reduced. Despite its gentle gameplay and visuals, Pikmin Bloom actually requires fairly high technical performance." In other words, one problem is that Niantic claims to support a wide range of devices when the reality is that only the highest performing smartphones can run the game with minimal issues. However, expecting players to continuously buy the latest device to run the game is really not a sustainable method in the long run. With this in mind, we made sure to include questions in the survey to look into how age, operating system, and make and model of the user's device affects performance. 82% of people using an older device, released between 2016 to 2021, experienced performance-related issues every play session or multiple times per play session. What surprised me the most of all is that even newer devices released between 2022 to 2026 were still experiencing performance-related issues at a high frequency, with 64% of them reporting problems every play session or multiple times per play session. That's just really not good news. Still, a handful of people reported that they never experience issues while running Pikmin Bloom. Whether they are less likely to notice problems affecting them or just got extra lucky for whatever reason, these are the devices that were reported to have minimal or no issues running the game. That said, everything listed here also had other players with the same exact device who were reporting problems with it to some degree. There could be many factors aside from the device itself that are contributing to issues. Still, if you are looking to upgrade your phone primarily for Pikmin, one of these will be your best bet. Finally, Okawari-san would like to see 3 actions taken by Niantic going forward. First, make the supported smartphone requirements clearer. Second, shift focus to addressing the problem system side. And third, rebuild the app from scratch so that it runs smoothly. I'm not a game developer. I'm aware that if it was a simple fix, it would have been addressed by now. Like Okawari-san, I have also been wondering lately if the best course of action would be to rebuild the game from scratch since these problems have gone unaddressed for so long. I decided to ask someone with more specific knowledge on the subject. I reached out to Helix on Discord, who has software engineering experience. Keep in mind, without having access to the game's code, this will be a lot of speculation. Regardless, I wanted to ask someone who could give some insight about what could potentially be causing these issues and how they might be fixed. In his opinion, one possibility is that battery drain, crashing, and overheating issues are all interconnected and caused by poor background performance. This is likely due to the game constantly needing to track GPS position and flower planting in the background as the player goes about their walk. The good news is, he thinks this probably wouldn't require a full rewrite of the game. It's likely the game's poor background optimization is something that can definitely be improved without sacrificing the gameplay. It's just a matter of priority for Niantic to take the time to address. In terms of the other bugs the game suffers from, he suggests if Niantic were to allocate 1 to 3 devs to fix them as their primary role, we would see improvements within a few months. One thing the survey revealed is that visual bugs really bring down the player experience. Lag, battery drain, crashing, and GPS issues were the most dominant categories, which should be expected given how much they interrupt gameplay. But a surprising number of players, about 7%, reported that visual bugs are their #1 cause of frustration. Even if Niantic only focus on squashing the visual bugs, which is likely to be a much easier fix than the other categories, it would result in a huge improvement for a lot of players. There seems to be an issue with asset sizes and some bugs involved in cache management, which, according to Helix, could be the root cause of many visual glitches. He suggested that Pikmin Bloom should include an option to download assets directly to your device. In exchange for the game taking up slightly more storage space, we would experience faster load times for assets, such as when encountering a new decor Pikmin for the first time. Pokemon Go has recently added an option to do exactly that, and its performance has increased significantly as a result. Speaking of storage size, what's up with that? Pikmin Bloom is around 300 megabytes, which is pretty normal, but if you end up playing long enough like me, you may start to see insane amounts of additional storage. Mine's currently at a massive 6.35 gigabytes. Without a way to clear the cache on iOS, the only way to slightly improve this is to uninstall and reinstall the game every so often, which is something the player really shouldn't be expected to do. I've experienced Pikmin Bloom on both Apple and Android devices. In my experience, on iOS the game tends to crash when the device can't handle the gameplay. Meanwhile, Android devices will always try to push through no matter what, resulting in terrible lag. The data seem to support my experience. When accounting for operating system, iOS users experience crashing 14% more frequently compared to Android users. Nothing interrupts my gameplay and frustrates me more than the entire game suddenly closing itself. For the past few months, I've experienced game crashes multiple times per day on my iPhone and often multiple times per play session. On one recent 20-minute walk, the game closed itself on 4 separate occasions. That's not to say the game never crashes on Android, it definitely can. Back when I used a Samsung phone, it was the only app I had ever used that resulted in this message being displayed. Pikmin Bloom closed. Your phone is overheating. Try using Pikmin Bloom again after your phone cools down. GPS-based apps tend to put a lot of strain on your phone's battery. Other apps can also heat your phone to a noticeable degree, but until Pikmin Bloom, I've never experienced my phone heating up so much that it actually hurt to the touch. How hot it can get is, most importantly and without exaggeration, a genuine fire hazard. Pikmin Bloom burns house down is the last headline I'd ever want to read. Summer is hot, especially in Japan.
The weather is going to be really hot.
Add the battery heat to that, and it seems to be the #1 cause of frequent game crashes for me. During last September's Sendai Journey event, the results screen of every single festival mushroom I joined resulted in a game crash. That day, when I swiped on the 10th special spot, which is the pivotal swipe of the entire Sendai Journey event, where the story of the gourmet yellow Pikmin concludes and earns the rosette decor, I got a game crash, which was really, truly disheartening. My phone usually doesn't lag, but here's some completely unedited footage taken at the Kaohsiung tour. The extremely hot weather, combined with needing to be constantly plugged into a battery pack, combined with all the assets needed for the event, resulted in this absolute misery. We had to take extended breaks in air-conditioned rooms without playing the game to be able to get through the entire event. The crashes that occur during a one-and-done game experience hurt the most. I legitimately lost game dialogue at the Sendai event, unable to read what it said because of an inopportunely timed crash. Luckily, Gianni's game worked normally at that time, so I was able to still experience it to some degree, but without the failsafe of both of us recording everything, I would have been completely out of luck ever getting to experience that game content. And Pikmin Bloom Journeys, I'll remind you, are paid experiences and should definitely be held to a higher standard. The playing card event last year was already a little frustrating for me due to having bad RNG. I ended up having to spend 800 coins to purchase the special mission for the chance to unlock the decor. No problem, it happens from time to time. I can deal with that as part of the game loop. But then when I went to pluck my Pikmin, this happened. So after spending 800 of my hard-earned coins to unlock this Pikmin, I didn't even get to experience the payoff of seeing the shadow get filled in and the confetti appearing. It was anticlimactic and really added insult to injury after having to spend all those coins just to get it in the first place. So upon relaunching the game, that was it. No animation, no charm, no fun. Just a shadow already filled in as if nothing new had happened. No fanfare in sight of any kind. Crasher, you know I love you, but your birth was a very disheartening experience for me. I am definitely not the only one who has experienced this kind of situation. 65% of the respondents answered yes when asked if they had ever experienced a consequence due to performance. There was a huge range of responses. Some of the most common problems were not being able to join a mushroom before it filled up due to lag, GPS issues interfering with flower planting, accidental purchases or the use of items that were triggered due to lag, and like with Crasher, many people mentioned missing out on unique game experiences and animations due to freezing or crashing. Reading through the responses, here are 3 I highlighted that I thought were especially unfortunate for the player. First, this person felt forced to put the game down for a month due to issues with the event missions. I didn't play at all in December 2025 because the game would not operate properly. Every time I completed an event mission, the game would freeze on the reward screen, and each time I had to restart the game to get the reward and get the game to function again. Second, many people reported they were not able to play the game as much as they wanted to due to the battery drain. Nowadays, I intentionally don't open the game while out traveling or exploring for multiple hours so I can preserve my phone battery in case of emergency, which is the antithesis of the point of the game. Well said. The entire point of the game is to encourage players to go out and explore, but so many people are cutting their adventures short because their phone won't last more than a couple of hours while playing. Third, in some cases the game has also been known to damage devices. Because of how much the battery overheats, it's really not good for the long-term health of your smartphone. The battery drain and repeated plugging to charge has worn out my charging port and battery so much that I've had to replace them. There were many comments like this talking about battery health or in some cases even hardware needing replacement due to actively using the game. That's not even mentioning the many comments reporting lost time due to lag, game crashes, and freezes, where players felt all the rebooting of the game was a huge waste of time and effort. Time is our most important currency of all. When the game doesn't respect that, people are bound to feel disheartened and eventually drop it for good. The only way to partially prevent a game crash is to refresh the app before doing a resource-intensive action. That's actually the solution for almost all problems in Pikmin Bloom. When in doubt, refresh the app. After Crasher, I learned to make sure to always close the app first just before plucking a new Pikmin, or I risk losing the moment entirely. I said partially prevent because it depends on how overheated your phone is when you do the action. At the Sendai journey, I preemptively closed the app just before plucking my library decor Pikmin, but it ended up crashing anyway because my phone was really hot at the time. Despite the event taking place in the crisp fall air, why was my phone hot even though the weather wasn't? There are a couple of reasons. First, charging the phone itself. Since the game drains a lot of battery, naturally most people walk around playing with their trusty portable battery packs. But if you're actively playing, joining mushrooms, swiping special spots, and detecting, or just looking at the map, well, your battery starts to really take a beating as it is rapidly drained and replenished simultaneously. The result is a really hot phone. Even without charging at the same time, actively playing will heat up your phone a lot. These issues tend to be worse at live events where the game is trying to render a lot on the screen at once, such as other players being visible on the map, all the flowers planted on the ground, and other things like that. The other big thing that contributes to overheating is the animations. Anytime you're navigating a menu like your Pikmin storage, they'll be doing a little idle animation. It's full of charm and breathes life into the game for sure. A squad of 40 Pikmin? No problem. A squad of 2,000? It ends up putting a lot of unnecessary strain on the game and battery. Players have recommended a reduced animation mode as a preventative measure for battery and crash issues, but I think that's more of a band-aid solution. It would be a nice option to have for older devices, but shouldn't it just work as intended? The Pikmin bopping their little heads while attacking mushrooms, and feeding a large number of Pikmin at once might be the worst two offenders among all the animations. Even on a regular mushroom, staying on that screen for a minute or two, you'll see a very noticeable increase in temperature. Global Festival mushrooms during the Challenge Anywhere event in 2025 had the worst performance of all. Since thousands of different players could join the mushroom simultaneously, my phone was always too hot and would constantly close out before I could join them at all. In the end, I had to wait until later on in the day when there were less players and my phone returned to a normal temperature. Even then, it would crash if I didn't preemptively close the game just before trying to join. Full disclosure, I currently play with an iPhone 12. Still, I designed a little experiment to see how using Pikmin Bloom affects the battery life by running various apps and then recording the decrease in battery percentage after 1 hour of continuous use. My hypothesis is that when compared to Pokemon Go, Pikmin Bloom will lose significantly more battery life. The control groups will result in the lowest battery percentage loss. I've repeatedly charged my phone to 100% for each of the following 4 scenarios. First, the control group was simply the phone screen unlocked on the main menu without doing anything. Surprisingly, it stayed at 100% capacity for the entire hour. Regardless, I topped it off before starting the next round. The second control group was to test a non-game application that uses GPS coordinates. I kept Google Maps open, and after an hour, the battery was at 91%. For the third group, here's where things got interesting. I actively used Pokemon Go as if mimicking regular gameplay by spinning the Pokestop, using incense, and catching all Pokemon that spawned. After an hour, my battery had 86% remaining. That's about the range I would expect for a game like Pokemon Go. Finally, for the moment you've all been waiting for Pikmin Bloom, all I did was start flower planting and kept the game open for an hour. Now's your chance to pause and write your guess in the comments. How much battery do you think remained after 1 hour of continuous use? Here we go. In the end, my phone had a mere 53% remaining. Almost half the battery drained with just 1 hour of gameplay. Clearly, something is very wrong here. I would love to see similar experiments with other devices, so if you feel like it, please tell me in the comments your remaining battery percentage after having Pikmin Bloom open for an hour. Pokemon Go actually had very similar issues for a long time, with frequent crashes, lagging, battery life problems, and things just not working as intended.
We wanted to share with you guys a little bit what's going on. We know some of you are having some issues getting into the game, so let me give you an update on what's going on.
But a few years back, the game received a big performance update, and the differences were night and day. Over the past couple of years since the update, Pokemon Go has crashed for me less than what Pikmin Bloom does in a single day. Although it's a different development team and Pokemon Go definitely has more budget for that kind of thing, it does show that Niantic will listen to feedback and they do have the ability to fix the issues. It's simply a matter of priority for them to address. Gianni and I love Pikmin Bloom. We made this whole YouTube channel just to talk about the game and connect with other players. That's why, based on our own experiences and the results of this survey, I think it's essential that Niantic's top priority should be to address these issues in 2026, even if it's just the major ones. It's in the best interest of the players, the community, Niantic, and most importantly, the future of the game. We truly want Pikmin Bloom to reach its greatest possible potential. Finally, what can we as players actually do about it? Helix mentioned that until Pikmin Bloom, he had never considered dropping a game due to problems with performance. Since bug fixes and performance problems have had a very low priority over the past 4 years, he recommends that a fan outcry is needed for Niantic to take the problem seriously. Since the game's launch, I can only recall one time in May of 2023 where Niantic openly addressed performance issues. Those improvements helped at first, but it's been so long now that the issues have become worse than ever before. About 27% of respondents answered yes to the question, have you or someone you know stopped playing Pikmin Bloom due to performance-related issues? Hemorrhaging players is one thing Niantic should definitely try to avoid whenever possible. If 1/4 of all players suddenly stop playing the game, it would be a huge flashing warning sign for Niantic that something catastrophic just happened that needs to be fixed immediately. People deciding to not even start the game or dropping it entirely due to performance issues is a much more subtle loss of the player base, and it's something that's hard to track and quantify. If these numbers are indicative of the community as a whole, it needs to be given just as much priority and care as if 1/4 of players one day decided to uninstall. The can only be kicked down the road so far, and the longer it goes on, the more frustration and negative perception builds up. At the very least, at the very bare minimum, Niantic needs to acknowledge the current state of the game and that fixes, however slow they may be, are being worked on. It's been a long time since May 2023. Niantic has shown time and time again that they do listen to feedback and implement solutions if enough players bring an issue to light. As players, we should be making our voices heard in a targeted way. Post on Pikmin Bloom's official support community page, share this video, make a comment talking about your own frustrating experiences, send in support tickets when things don't work as they should, and make your voice respectfully be heard. By now, Niantic is probably aware of most of these issues, but how much priority they'll be given depends largely on how much noise the player base is willing to make. Be respectful, be factual, and make it be known how these issues have affected your experience with the game. If you, a family member, or friend drop the game due to performance issues, make it be known. If you think Niantic should prioritize performance in the coming year, make it be known. And even if you personally don't experience many issues with the game, kindly show your support to the many of us who do. With any luck, the problems will be seriously addressed, and long-term solutions will be implemented to make the game better for everyone. Thank you to all 526 people who submitted responses. For the gift bundle box prize drawing, I used a random number generator between 1 and 526 to select the winning participant. Number 502 was the lucky winner. A big congratulations to Drusef A for winning the gift bundle. For anyone interested in the raw data, you can find the anonymized results of the survey in the description of this video to analyze it yourself. Finally, I'd like to conclude by showing a post I saw from about a year ago where the user was forced to quit the game. I can't continue playing and I hate it. I know I'm not the first to complain, and that's why I think it's sad that Niantic hasn't done anything to change the way their game runs. It doesn't feel good knowing they don't give us the same love and attention we give their game. I really wish they would do something. With all that being said, the ball is in your court, Niantic. Please address these issues. Special thanks to everyone who helped out with this video, the survey, and to you as players for supporting these efforts. This is not the kind of content I'd like to spend my time making, but I felt it necessary to address. Thank you for listening all the way to the end, and until next time, which will hopefully be on a more positive note, see you.